Hello and welcome to Red's Business and Technology Podcast. I'm your host, Jackson Barnes.
I'm your co-host, Brad Ferris.
And today we're sitting down with Mike Ouwerkerk, who's a director of WebSafe staff with over 20 years technology cybersecurity experience, helping mostly Australian companies massively reduce their cyber risk by empowering staff. Mike, thanks for coming in today, mate.
Hey, thanks for having me.
No problems. Did you want to start with your background before, when you way back started in the tech space? What did you do? Then that little transition to cybersecurity.
Yeah, we were kind of talking about this before. We both have a bit of background with Ernst & Young, me and Brad.
Yeah.
And I was telling him something that maybe I shouldn't, but
that is totally up to you, mate. If you want to disclose that?
No, look, I started in tech in London in 96 or something. And I didn't really get into tech. I more flogged my way into it. I guess I borrowed my mate's CV and put my name on it and sent it to his agency, and then ended up sitting in front of the CIO of Ernst & Young UK.
Yeah, well.
I hope she doesn't listen to this. What have you been doing? Yeah, IT. Yeah, it looks great. Can you start? I'm like, yeah. So I start, and I've got no idea what I'm doing, like none.
Wow.
But I just learnt fast and did well. So and I enjoyed it. So I stayed in IT and then came to Australia and kept in IT, did tech stuff, desktop support, systems admin, that sort of stuff, IT consulting, and that was where I got into the awareness stuff, because my clients are getting hacked. I'm like, what's going on? I'm having a look and people are just clicking on random things, and I'm going, there's a serious lack of knowledge here. So while I was doing that, I fired up WebSafe stuff, started putting together some courses and stuff, and they were pretty ugly. I look back at them, I keep my versions, and God, it's embarrassing.
But we've all been there.
Even though, still made a massive difference. So I'm like, well, I might keep doing that. And eventually I just transitioned full over to WebSafe stuff. That was about 7 years ago.
Right.
And just focused on live training.
Right.
Because it works quite well.
In-person live or over video live?
Yeah, look on site, right in front of them, or Teams or Zoom, just, whatever they want. But it just works quite well because they can ask questions, ask questions, share stories, that sort of stuff. So I quite enjoy it. I get to sort of muck around, be myself, crack bad jokes, be witty, be cheeky, have fun. Hopefully don't push the boundaries too much.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to keep people interested in talking about technology or cybersecurity for a long period of time, right? So that is a constant battle that is going to be the forever challenge, getting people to actually listen to cyber awareness training, I think. So I'm keen to get some insights from you today, Mike, around what actually works and what forms there is out there and what that industry is doing. So look, mate, let's start, roll it right back to why is cyber awareness important?
Stats, 82% of breaches are through people, according to a report last year. So most breaches are through staff. It's that simple. They're just massively targeted. So if they're not prepared, if they don't know how to spot scams, how to deal with it, they're going to get tricked. And that's just what we see. So much of it, and there's so many ways they can be targeted now. So that's why it's important. I mean, you guys know the deal, people, process, technology, right? There's three parts you've got to deal with. You've got to do them all. But really, the quick wins are probably on the people side if you do it well.
Yeah, I think you're right there. Definitely the quick wins are on the people side. Some of the technology controls and processes you put in place definitely help you and minimize the impact when someone gets through, but they're a lot more costly than doing an annual workshop or that kind of thing. So what let's actually go into that. So what forms of cyber awareness training is out there currently?
It's quite a lot. There's obviously the pre-recorded content. So you've got your providers that will do stuff. You sign up per person, you get to see all their videos, and might get one a week, or you can just work through the stuff at your own pace. And some of them have some good stuff, it's quite engaging, putting some metrics around stuff as well, and you've got phishing testing. I think there's a fine balance for me. So when I look at some of that online content, Some of them are dead boring, right? And you just go, oh my god, And I know, like I trained a company just the other day, and they go, yeah, we got that, and we just click next. And I'm just going, yeah, okay. Some of it's actually quite good, some of it's quite entertaining, but I would just say there's a bit of a problem in that. Sometimes you've watched a really good video on TV, like an ad on TV, and you watch it and you go, oh, it's really good fun. And then someone says, what was the product? You go, oh, I don't know. I've got no idea. So fun is good, but it can't be all fun. So, striking a balance, some companies do it quite well. And then moving into the live stuff. So some companies do live stuff, probably not many. There's me in Brisbane, there's a few others that do it, and that's good because you can actually keep it quiet, engaging. You're actually talking to people, you got their attention, you're telling stories, it's all current. You can have a mix of content, and that works quite well for companies.
So how many people can you have in a room at once?
The most I've done is 50.
50?
You can look, there's no limit. There can be a hall of 400, it's just kind of gets hard for people to ask questions. You sort of reserve that towards the end. Generally speaking, 15 is a good number.
Okay.
But look, if you've got to crank through the numbers, you're going to have more, right?
Yeah, so if you're doing a company-wide type thing and it's a bigger company, will you just break it out into multiple sessions? Is that how it usually works?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Over the course of
often give them options. Say, look, do you want to do it in 5 sessions or 10 sessions, and spread it out over a month or something like that, or a couple of weeks. So there's lots of options how you do things.
So you do more like the in-person workshops, and like how often would you recommend a business does the one per year cyber workshop, or how often?
It depends on how good the training is, honestly. So if you're doing really crappy training, you probably want to be doing it more. But then really what's going to happen, people are just going to next through it anyway, so what's the point?
What about live workshops that you would do? How often do you go back?
Look, generally speaking, once a year.
Okay.
But there's more to it than that. So in my space, there's the ABCs, right? Awareness, behaviour, culture. You do awareness training, and you want to change behaviours, and then you strive for a culture around cybersecurity awareness, and that takes a bit of effort. So you can do awareness training. But what I find is companies that engage me, they might do awareness training, but they don't know this stuff. I come back a year later and they've forgotten stuff. So you've got to keep things going in the middle, and that's where you keep doing these initiatives. And there are ways for companies to do that themselves.
Do you have a combination, like in person and then followed up with with an online type course?
Yeah, look, it's whatever they want. For me, I can do in person, and then my refresher might be online a year later.
Yep.
And we're currently putting together packages for big corporates around cultural change. So it's quite structured, generally speaking. Like, you can go in and assess their current state. So, look, what do your people know? What are you worried about? How are you targeted? And then you can start thinking about putting together some branding around your campaign and build ambassador programs internally and say, we're going to use your people as the central point of questioning, and, they can stand up at meetings and things like that. And then you get into training, and then you get into reminders, and you want to measure it, and it wants to be repeatable, and you want to improve it. So it's quite a structured thing. So I'm currently looking at that for a bigger company. It's the next few weeks. But that's where the big companies get to.
Yep.
They want to build this culture around this stuff. Generally speaking, the smaller companies, they won't do that stuff, but they should.
Yeah, it is definitely. There's a lot more to it these days, and to be honest, I'd argue that if you do cyber awareness training once per year, in 12 months' time, threat actors are so different to they were 12 months ago. Like, the threat actors are getting smarter and smarter, and where they're redoing scripts with AI these days and that kind of stuff, and getting other people to call, and the way they get in, and the way that social engineering has changed. Over the last 12 months, right? You having MFA, you were fairly secure. I feel like a couple of years ago, they're just getting more and more clever at social engineering. So the way training you do would have to be continually evolving as well to keep up with that, right?
Some of it, with good training, it should be based on simple rules, right? So the rules that I teach, so the examples I show, absolutely that changes, right? And they're doing different things every year, and it is evolving. But it should come back to simple rules that cater for no matter what the criminals are doing, right? And if you can get that across, that's the key thing. And you show different examples, and then you follow it up with a rule going, just do this, right? Simple thing. An example, not giving out confidential information unless it's in person, right? And you see the person, you go, cool, I can see you, I know you, I trust you, I can give you confidential info. But now with deep fakes, right? Deep fakes are turning up, and that's a real problem. Someone's going to ring you, they forge the phone number, and you go, hey, it's my partner, and they're stuck in the checkout, and they need the credit card, right? Well, the rule is don't give out confidential information unless you know and trust them, and it's not in person. Well, you don't, because it's deep fakes. So you're going to have to get them to prove they are who they say they are, or even doing things these days like having a password, which is kind of like spy stuff, right? What's the password? Okay, cool. Well, you are you. So if you can keep the rules, focus on the rules, but get there with examples, lead into it, then often you don't need to change the rules. You just need to change the examples.
It really does feel like the world went when COVID hit, just like everywhere and spread information everywhere. Now that cybersecurity is getting more and more important, it's kind of like get face to face with someone and deal with local businesses more so and that kind of thing. So that's an interesting change. But in your experience, Mike, how many percentage of businesses actually do cyber awareness training?
Look, the bigger they are, the more likely they are to do it. A lot of them are mandated, because they're doing frameworks. They've got their ISOs and lists and stuff like that. And, it's either mandatory or highly suggested, so they do it. They got funds, they'll get an awareness person maybe if they can, or outsource it. But generally speaking, the smaller the company you go, the less chance you've got of them actually doing it. If they're going to do it, like my stuff comes from referrals, because, I deal with companies and, like you guys, and they go, well, chuck them at it. Or you're doing this, you're doing ISO, you got to do it. So they'll throw them my way. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't do it, Sometimes I train companies after they've been hacked, which is like a funeral. I'm sitting there and I'm training them because normally the session's a lot of fun, right? That's the key thing. If you can make it fun, people are actually engaging. And I'm doing these sessions with they've been hacked and they're just going, they're kicking themselves, right? They're just going, oh God, I wish we knew that. I'm just going, that's horrible. Still good because that learning stuff and it won't happen again, hopefully. But
probably listening more though after being hacked.
They're into it, especially the people that got tricked. Right. I had that recently. I trained a company, a reasonable size. They had to split it up into a couple of sessions across their offices, right? And a few people missed the training. They ring me back a few weeks later and go, can we get one more session? Yeah, it's cool. There's 3 people. Okay. And why just 3 people? They missed the training. I go, okay. And they go, that's the finance team. And I go, no, there's more to this, isn't there? Yeah. Well, they got the old invoice from a hacked account, and the payment details were changed. And it's kind of frustrating because I taught them that.
You mean you taught everyone else except the account team?
Except the people. The people that missed the session. But I still give them the stuff. I give them post-install stuff. I've done post-training steps. Do this, get these procedures in place. So you can lead a horse to water, right? Sometimes, and that's why you got to keep it going. Because when I do keep it going, I go out there and go, "How you guys going on this? Did you do that last time? If you didn't, why?
Well, that's a good segue to the next question, which I'm sure you've probably got a lot of answers for this one. But how do you actually get employees and staff engaged in cyber awareness training?
Home use. Make it about their money. Make it about their kids, make it about their information. So it's kind of weird, but when I teach, it's pretty much all about home use. So all the examples, the stories, hey, this person got their bank account ripped off, this person's identity got stolen, your kid's photo online and they're turning it into a deep fake porn image and blackmailing them and all that sort of stuff. You're still backing that with solid rules, and I'm still throwing company stuff in there. But the whole time they're thinking about me, right?
Yeah.
So there's a personal impact. If you want people to change, you make them dissatisfied. If you want to make them dissatisfied about their work getting hacked, they're not. I don't care. IT's got us. That's your problem. When you take it home, now it's their problem. They're dissatisfied. So you relate everything to home use, or as much as you can, and it's all relevant to work. They're not going to forget that stuff. They're not going to come to work and go, "Oh, now I've forgotten how to read links." Right? Doesn't happen. So for me, home use, it's massive.
And how long is a typical session?
About an hour and a quarter.
Okay, so it's not too bad.
Not too long. I used to have them quite a bit longer when I first started this because I had so much content. I was like, oh my God. But over time, with feedback, I've managed to just get it really concise. And you deliver it enough and you get your wording good too. Right. I mean, I just wrapped up 300 sessions for Queensland councils, and they've got their own course, but it's close to what I deliver anyway. And geez, I tell you, you just get so refined with how you deliver it.
Yeah.
You just script it in your head. You know exactly what to say, just to minimise the delivery time, but avoid confusion. Just really plain English, simple. So yeah.
It's interesting you say that home use, because we almost talk the opposite when we talk about cybersecurity, right? Because we like business and IT and managed security services. We usually talk to the business impact of being breached. We don't really go ever into like the individual
it depends
person.
on the audience, right? Like you're probably talking that way to the people who are going to engage you, but when you get the people in the room, you'll be talking about the home use component when you're actually delivering, I'd imagine.
I mean, I have to get people caring about cybersecurity.
Yeah.
You guys, tech, and processes, that is the business. That's a business thing. The people aren't engaged in that really. But I just want them not getting tricked.
What are some of the other ways you've got people engaged in cyber awareness training? Because you've done hundreds and hundreds of workshops, right? So surely you got a lot of tips and tricks on how to get people engaged. Apart from speaking to the person or home kind of use, what else works?
Before I start a session, and a lot of my stuff is online now. So just being the first person in the room and then telling bad jokes. So I've got a whole repertoire of dad jokes. So you're just chatting to people and you're getting them comfortable with yourself, right? So you're the first person that you're having a chat, keeping it cash, making sure you get people's video on, and then as other people turn up, they'll turn their video on, and making it feel like a real in-person meeting. Dad jokes are good because either people love them. And they feel relaxed or they hate them and they want to get started. So either way, you're going to win, right?
Yeah.
And then, look, when you're actually doing the training, just keeping it fun. It can't all be fun. You've got to mix it.
Yep.
There's a variety of content, videos and stories, and I put it back on people. Say, right, have a go, do this. What did you get? You cool? No, let's reiterate, going through stuff, reinforcing learnings. Got stupid videos, like I talk about Trojan horses, right? Software that might be a Trojan horse. Gee, that looks great. Turns out it's not. I show a video of a lady feeding her daughter a piece of pizza, and she sneaks in a spoon of baby food. I'm like, that's a Trojan horse. And it's ridiculous, right? But people laugh, and you intersperse the content with stuff like that so that people just get that little boost each time. And like I said, you can't have it all like that. You've got to have messaging in there. But just being fun. Like I do like to have fun. I don't know if it's coming across in this interview, but I'm naturally a pretty cheeky person. I'll crack jokes on the fly. And I'm actually pretty good at that. So
would be fine with a couple of dad jokes if you think of any along the way. If you want to drop a few.
I've got quite a lot.
Yeah.
What's the best one, mate? What's had the most laughs in the room? Cyber awareness dad joke.
The best cyber awareness
Nigel
joke.
will like this.
I've only actually got about 2 that relate to cybersecurity awareness. One of them's pretty lame. It's like, how did the cyber criminal get away from police? They ransomware. Which is actually
terrible.
The one that I really
That's
like.
pretty good, I thought.
Yeah, right, okay. This is an easy crap. The one that I really like, and I actually tell this in my password section, is beef stew a good password? After I show them, look, let's go long, complex, unique, right? And this is how you can put together a good password. And I talk about password managers and all that sort of stuff. And then I go, so that's a good password. What about beef stew? And they go, no. I go, why not? And they go, well, yeah, blah, blah, blah. I go, so it's not stroganoff? Is that what you're saying?
Okay, that's pretty good.
That's pretty good, right?
That is pretty good. What is your thoughts on password managers? I mean, it's been a weird space recently because I feel like it was very much, you need a password management solution, and then it's kind of like, ooh, hang on, LastPass got done.
Multiple times.
Yeah, what do we do here? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, look, we still have passwords, right? It'd be nice if they went away, but they're not. We got pass keys now, and that's probably a bit too confusing for most people. And you've got your MFA, like your UB keys, and you could just, plug it in there and do your fingerprint, but that's pretty hard. Most places aren't doing that. So, yes, we have passwords. Password management, yeah, you got to do it. I have a password manager. I think the key question for people is trust factor. So you want to put it on Google and Apple, and they got their own stuff. For me, do I like our technical overlords? No, I'm not a big fan of them, right? So I'm kind of like, well, I keep my data to myself as much as I can. And you've got your websites, LastPass, geez. They have different versions too. Like, they have, I think, the federated services or something. And if you were in that didn't get breached. Me personally, and some of them are good. Like, some of them are well structured with cybersecurity. From what I hear from others in the community, they go, I use this one because even if you get hacked, they're doing their own thing on top of your password to encrypt the passwords, and they'll never get it. So that's all right. I use my own password manager on my own system.
Yeah, well, my thoughts are you can't remember all of them. And or they go in Excel, or they go in a notepad, or you're writing down physically, or they're in a password manager, I guess.
I use KeyPass, which is actually free software. So if you want to do it on your own computer, you can download that. There was an issue with it recently, so there's a patch for that. But there's always issues with software. That's why patching is a thing.
What are your thoughts on the cybersecurity industry in Australia right now? Do you think businesses are getting the right advice, or is there enough cybersecurity professionals in Australia?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think what we're seeing now is that the industry, the way the services are provided, is changing. So it's coming back more to the, like yourself, the MSPs, because it has to. Because there's also a bit of a turf war. You've got your cybersecurity companies, and then you've got IT companies, and then the clients need both. And then what happens, the cybersecurity company is trying to get the client, and they're like, well, we've got IT, so talk to them, and maybe the IT company's going, well, we look after that. So I think there's probably a transition to MSPs becoming a lot better at cybersecurity, which is what I'm seeing. Some MSPs are kicking this stuff out of the park. Like, they're doing a really good job. As long as you can get good staff, that's probably the challenge.
Yep.
Getting good staff. We're all struggling with that to a certain degree.
Yep.
Yeah. If you can get good staff and you can cover the bases, that's great. I have no issue with it coming back to the MSP. I think it probably needs to in many cases, but cybersecurity is very specialist too. So sometimes you just need to go and see those specialist companies because they know this stuff. So probably getting rid of the turf wars would be a good thing.
It's tricky though, right? Because so we speak to a lot of businesses, review their cybersecurity state, that kind of thing, and some of them are getting horrible advice from their MSP around cybersecurity, and some are doing the right thing, right? Or there's some internal IT teams who actually really struggle when it comes to cybersecurity because they're just fighting for more tools internally. When it comes to actual cybersecurity, it's more about making it harder and putting more padlocks on the doors and that kind of thing. So actual supporting becomes more of a burden. If you've got two internal IT staff and you want proper cybersecurity, it's
not going to work.
Not going to work. Or you're going to make your own life a nightmare, to be honest with you. So, yeah, but interested to get your feedback on that, because I guess you'd probably see that from small businesses all around.
Look, small businesses just relying on their MSP, and quite often they don't do a great job. They really don't. We'll put a firewall in and we'll give you your antivirus and there you go. And, they don't really have much around detection or response, and probably don't even have, plans around response, and there's a lot to it, as you guys know. When you're not doing things, you're at risk.
I come across an MSP contract, and they were trying to present advanced managed security services that said MFA and will patch your systems faster. And I was like, oh my god. So there's so many, it's hard for businesses these days out there at the moment, where they're getting this advice and they trust someone, they can't afford to pay for an actual cyber professional, and they've got MSPs. Some are, don't get me wrong, some are good and some are,
for sure. Some are doing a great job.
And unfortunately, there's a couple of cowboys out there, so it was a weird state right now. What's your opinion, Mike, on the state of the cyber awareness industry in Australia?
I just go on the results that I see. So there's companies doing it, right? There's plenty of offerings. You can sign up online and $30 a year or whatever per person and do your training and hope people learn some stuff. And then there's companies that do like what I do, and there's companies that do the big cultural piece and they just focus on that, getting in there and working with them and building internal capacity. But look, what I see is when I train people, they don't know the stuff they need to know. I do have an assessment tool that I use. It's a quiz-based thing. Get a percentage score. How well did you do? Generally, people don't do that good. I'm training people that have done training.
Yeah.
And I've trained people that in companies, and they have awareness people.
Like staff internally that are awareness people.
Internal staff, and they turn up to my training. I do my training, and I go, "How'd you go?" And they go, "Oh my God, everyone needs to do this." I'm like, "Why you guys are doing this stuff though?" "Yeah, but we didn't know that stuff." I'm like, "Okay." There's a lot of basic knowledge that people don't have. And it's also, there's no standards around awareness. I don't have to comply with any standards with what I teach. I'm just going off what I know and what I research.
There's barely any standards around cybersecurity as a whole, let alone awareness, right?
So look, it's quite interesting. I just know that when people come into my training, I show them stuff that they've never seen before. And I do teach things in a very specific. Some of the things I teach, I drill into detail, right? Like links. People need to know what to do with the links. You can't just go, "Hey, does that look weird? Don't click on it." Links are everywhere, right? So I tell them how to work it out, tell them how to do research, that sort of stuff. It's like 15 minutes of that stuff. No one knows that stuff. Do you know, what if there's an @ sign in a link? No one knows that. Not many people know that. And look to the end of the link, and tell them that. They go, "Oh, I didn't know that." Right, there's stuff like this. These are basics that people should know, but they don't, and they're at risk. So the state is that they're not getting good enough training for me. And even when I give them training, you still got to do it again. Like I just did a refresher for a company this week, start of the week. They've forgotten stuff. When I'm there, they're going, "Oh my God, that's amazing. This is great. I get great feedback." I come back a year later, I've forgotten stuff, right? So you got to keep doing it, and it's got to be good, and you got to keep people engaged. And I think, it's not just an Australia thing.
No.
Every country around the world is going to have a problem with this.
Yep. Yeah. There's a lot of Americanized cyber awareness programs out there that I've seen. There's a couple in Australia. So your advice for businesses is to do like an annual in-person, ideally workshop around cybersecurity, and then what's still to get like those awareness kind of email-based kind of programs rolling out. And
they can absolutely be
as
complimentary, They can be.
What's your thoughts on like simulated phishing attacks, that kind of thing? How often would you recommend that gets done?
It's going to depend on the company. Like, it's entirely independent. If you've got like a company of gurus on this stuff, why bother? You can alienate people, and you do have to be careful doing it as well. Like if you're going to do and I've seen some shockers, right? You do a phishing testing and go, "Hey, you're going to get a pay rise." Click on this link, and then they find out it's a phishing test, and now you've got every employee that just hates you, right? So, stuff like that, and you've got an unfair advantage. So you've got access to all the people, you've got access to internal knowledge about how you're structured and how you could target them. So it's got to be careful. And look, I don't think there's any simple answer. It just depends on the company, what's suitable for you. It can be a useful tool. It's just got to be done quite carefully. And equally, if you teach people, and like phishing testing, really, what's it going to be? Links, right? It's always link based. Come to this dodgy website, and you got tricked, and now you might be hacked, right? If you teach them links, and do it properly, it really negates that. Like I did a retrain on a company a few years back, and they did my initial training. I turned up. And when I turn up at companies, I got the old USB key, right? And I go, damn it, I forgot to print this thing off. Could you print that out for me, please? And invariably, every single company I've ever trained, or who haven't done training before, they plug it in. So then when we get up to the USB section, I go, remember this thing? And I go, well, let's talk about that, right? Because it could be like a keyboard. It starts typing, and I show them examples. The companies that I do train. No, I've totally forgotten where I was. Sorry. Let's just go into something else. It's a Friday, right?
It's
pretty harsh showing up with the USB key as the instructor. Can you print this for me?
It does work. Did you know
That's
that they've actually, there was a news article I saw, and a criminal actually turned one into a bomb.
A USB
bomb?
key.
So they put little C4 explosive into it, and a person plugged it in and it exploded in their face.
Really?
Yeah. And the other thing they can do is put capacitors in there. So you plug it in, and the capacitors will charge up, and then it throws the current back into the motherboard, and it fries
Blows
the
it up.
motherboard. Yeah, it blows it up.
Yep. That's probably one of the lesser cyber threats these days. Blowing up one computer, no one really cares. Take a bit of data and then run around screaming.
Yeah, but if it starts typing and manage to fire up a PowerShell or something and download dodgy software, suddenly things change.
Yeah, that's definitely true. So in terms of what you do you also offer like pen testing and cyber advice or alignment to frameworks, that kind of stuff for your clients? Or you strictly...
No, I just do awareness training. I just focus on that. If I need to give that sort of stuff out, I just refer on.
Yeah, right.
So I need good partners for that.
Yep.
But no, I just want to do awareness.
Yeah.
I'm mindful of doing too much.
So what's next for Mike and your business? Are you trying to expand, hire more people, go in different areas or countries to provide? Because to be honest, you no doubt in what you're doing, you're getting a fair amount of demand right now with all the big people that have been breached late last year and then this year, and some pretty high profile names have been done, and they're probably businesses want more training. I could imagine. What's next for you, man?
So just it seems to be moving into enterprise more. So I have been doing some government stuff like the Queensland councils. That was good. But yeah, getting into more sort of the cultural change stuff. So not just doing the, hey, I'm going to come and scare your staff. I'm actually going to work with you, build internal capacity around you, doing reminders and stuff like that, and come back to refresher training and work on let's brand this thing and what sort of metrics can we capture here and how do we keep improving it. So that sort of stuff, which is nice. But yeah, staffing wise, got to need people. Which is the challenge. And that, we were chatting about this before we started this, but it's hard, right? It's hard to get people. And then you think about what I do. And, I ended up in this because it's just the way it is. I mean, I naturally moved into this, but how many sort of IT people are good at training and cracking jokes and that sort of stuff? And you're like, well, probably not a heap. And no cybersecurity as well. Because, when I do training, I get questions, right? And some of them are hairy.
Yep. I could imagine, actually.
Yeah, some of them are hardcore tech questions, and you have to be able to answer them. And I do have a reasonable good knowledge around cybersecurity tech processes, so I can usually answer it. But, yeah, I'm going to have to probably get a few extra people. And, geez, it'd be nice just to sit back and just relax and let everyone else do the work eventually, because you can only do the training so many times, and it's my job to keep it fun and engaging.
Yep.
I give the same performance every time, but internally you're dying a little bit because you're forcing it. Sessions can be a lot of fun, but like with the Queensland Council 300, bang 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 bang, it's like whew,
It's a lot in a row.
it's quite hard.
Are they remote?
Yeah, they were remote.
Yeah. Okay.
And then when people don't turn their video on, like that's hard. You do have some sessions
People
where,
still do that.
Yeah, it's hard. Like if it's a private company, I'm saying, look, turn your video on. Like get the most out of this. Make sure and get management on the session. So make sure people know you care and you ask the questions. You're the boss. You ask the questions, right? So people go, oh wow, the boss is in this, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty rude
But,
in 2023 to not have your camera on.
Yeah, like it does happen occasionally, and it's just really. Have you guys ever presented with no cameras on? Like it's hard.
I think when COVID first hit, there was a fair amount of businesses who were like, oh, I don't know, work this thing, don't have a webcam, yada, yada, yada.
It was one of the best things come out of COVID. I remember before COVID, it was one of my biggest pet peeves when people wouldn't put the camera on. And I'd made everyone on our team do it. You don't walk into a meeting with a paper bag over your head.
No.
Right?
No. And one of the challenges if you're doing a training session, like, are you multitasking?
Yeah.
Like,
a lot of people will, I imagine, everyone's done that. Jumped on a webinar or a video where they're, not...
Webinars okay,
kind of
but
stuff.
when it's an interactive, supposed to replace
training,
a face-to-face training
someone's
session.
paying for you to be on a training session,
true.
right? It should be, and that's why my refresher course and the assessment, same thing. I can assess with it or do a refresher, and that's the quiz-based thing.
Yep.
Like, you can be remote, but you're doing a quiz. Like,
Yeah.
you're doing it.
Yeah.
so you know, if you're not paying attention, you don't get your score at the end, and maybe the bosses go, "Oh, where's your score?" All right, chuck you back on it.
Yeah. All right, Mike, thanks for coming in, mate. Conscious of time, but really appreciate you sharing some insights around cyber awareness training. And look, there's probably going to be busy over the next coming years, and hopefully you can find a little junior you and you can just write the jokes and sit back. We'll see how you go.
That'll be my son.
Yeah.
Hurry up, grow up.
if anyone wants to reach out to you or wants to learn more about the kind of workshops you do, how can they reach you?
Well, I've got my website, so that's websafestaff.com.au. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm like a rash on LinkedIn, actually. So yeah, Mike Ouwerkerk. Am I Mike or Michael? I don't even know what I call myself on LinkedIn.
I think it was Mike.
Well, I wrote down Mike, so let's probably put Mike.
But yeah, mainly the website, and that's got contact details in there.
Cool.
And I'm always, up for a chat and see how I can help companies out.
Beauty. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Sweet. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers.